Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Chosen Podcast. I'm Wes with the Chosen Ones, home of student athlete empowerment. Speaking to student athletes, I got one here with me. I interviewed both of her sisters, so I got to complete the trifecta and have Olivia Brown on the show for the very first time. Welcome to the show, Olivia. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. Again, yeah, got to complete the trifecta and have you on the show. And I see that you're a podcaster yourself too. Forgot to talk to you about that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started my first podcast my sophomore year of college, and that podcast was called Sister Hoop, and I interviewed college athletes, mainly female basketball players from around the country, and just tried to, tell their stories. Because oftentimes, something that I love about your podcast is you bring light to athletes whose stories aren't often told, and
Yeah.
that was the same principle with my podcast. Is women's basketball players have such great stories to tell, but a
Hmm.
lot of times it's overlooked. So that was my first podcast, and I had a great time doing that. That lasted for about a year. And then more recently, I have a podcast called Live Off Court, and I do it with one of my teammates whose name is also
Okay.
Liv Sims. And we just talk about different topics in basketball and our experiences, shedding light on those things, and hopefully another athlete can listen to it, get, some advice from it and
Yeah.
just talk about those things.
No doubt. That's what it's all about. Um, I wish I lived in the age where I could hear perspectives from other athletes that not just older athletes or professional, but people my age that are in the same walk of life. So we're definitely in the day and age where you can build your own platform to be able to do that, which is super cool. Um, so shout out to that, and make sure you guys go check out that podcast and like, subscribe, all that, share it out. But yeah, cool. Um, so yeah, what's been good? I know we talked a little bit off wax. You're going into your third year at dang
Valparaiso, yeah.
Valpo. Gosh, dang. So I turned 34 like 3 days ago. So I'm getting old and see now. But you're at St. Bonnie's first and then transferred to Valpo. How's that going so far? Or how's that been?
It's been good. It was a really tough transition for me to transfer at first. The first year was hard because I left my friends. I
Yeah.
left the place that I had called home for 2 years.
Hmm.
But I feel like in my third year, I've really gotten into my flow at Valpo. And I
Yeah.
know our offense, I know our defense. I feel comfortable, with the basketball aspect of it. But then I also feel like I feel very settled into my personal life here
Yeah.
and, the things I'm doing for my career in the future since I'm a fifth year.
Right.
So it's been really great. I'm happy that I'm here and that I made the decision to transfer.
Yeah. That's cool. Um, Not basketball related. What are you studying?
So I was communications and I
Okay.
just received my degree in that last May. And
Hmm.
now I'm doing an MBA.
Okay. Dang, that's what's up. And then I saw you had a an internship with the Chicago Sky.
Yeah, I did. I did ticket sales for the Sky last summer or this past summer.
Dang. Yeah. How was
Yeah,
that?
it was fun. It was really great. I loved it. I was selling tickets and it felt very natural to me because I want people to come to WNBA games.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, why would you not, want to come? So
Yeah.
it was really fun.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it and I also loved to be at every game day and
Hmm.
see the behind the scenes of the professional sports world. It was a really cool perspective. I'm used to being on the court. So
For sure.
to be behind the scenes was a really unique experience and I loved it.
Man, that's dope. That's dope. Speaking of WNBA, are you checking out the finals right now? You tuning in?
I I need to be better. I've been watching here and there,
Yeah.
but I'm going for the Aces for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pulling for the Aces too. Liberty, they've been fun to watch this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the addition of Stewie. So, um, yeah, I don't know if they'll get it done. I think the Aces will wrap it up. But
Yeah, they kind of have a super team.
yeah, and they don't even have Candace Parker. Like it's
Yeah.
um, yeah,
And I
definitely wouldn't
love
be
Kelsey
fair.
Plum. I
Yeah,
love her game.
she's
So
a
good.
dog. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a lefty, so I especially love her too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so hooping, like when did you get started? How did you get started into playing basketball?
I think in second grade, I started. My mom ran the youth sports at one of our local athletic clubs.
Okay.
And so me and my sister started pretty early. It was always me and Jillian on the same team, and Macy was just the younger sibling dribbling a ball on the sidelines until she
Yeah.
finally started playing too.
Okay.
But my mom really got us into it, and it's just been our family sport ever since.
Nice. That's cool. That's what's
Yeah.
up. Um, and I talked to Jillian. She says your family are LeBron James fans. So does that make you a LeBron fan? All of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
1,000%.
That's what's
I
up.
just I love his style of play, but also I love how he is just such a good business person and he
Yeah.
does so much for the community. I just feel like he represents athletes so well because he's just such a well-rounded person.
No doubt. Yeah. And people just decide to look over that and just hate him because he decided to go to Miami, and that was in 2010.
Yeah.
So get
Well, you know
over
what
it.
they say, haters are just fans, so
In
that's probably
denial. Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. I love it. Um, so you say you started in second grade. Talk about when it like officially became a passion for you, where you knew like, all right, this is what I want to do long term.
I think that just being with any little kid, I loved the feeling of success
Yeah.
and I wanted to continue that. And I remember wanting to be different. Like in middle school, we would all go to the mall on
Mm-hmm.
Fridays and I would
Mm-hmm.
never I would go with my friends for like 30 minutes and then I'd be like, "All right, I have to leave. I have basketball practice." And even though I was leaving hanging out with my friends, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm doing something that I love to do. This is making me unique.
Right.
I'm putting, basketball first over just like hanging out with
Yeah.
friends."
For
I
sure.
feel like that was really the moment that stuck out to me where it's like, okay, I'm starting to take this really serious and
Mm-hmm.
it's my priority right
Yeah,
now.
for sure. That's interesting. So I'm interested in hearing how your friends receive that. Um, you saying I gotta go to basketball practice, or I gotta go away this weekend. I can't hang out. Like, how did your friends take that?
Ooh, I don't even know if I remember, but I feel like the nice thing about playing a sport is that you have your school friends and you're super
Yeah.
close with your friends that you grew up with at school, but then
Right.
you have the other group of friends at basketball
Mm-hmm.
that you've also known forever because you've been on the same AAU team or you've trained together for so long.
For sure.
So it was kind of like I got the best of both worlds. I got to hang out with my school friends during the day and on weekends, but
Yeah.
basketball tournaments, practice, like I loved my friends that I had through basketball too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely miss the travel basketball days, and I think about those days often. So
Yeah.
my nephew, it wasn't travel ball, but he was playing in the bank hoops showcase here a couple weeks ago.
Mm.
I forgot what it was like being in a gym for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Used to
Game
live in
after
there,
game.
game after
Yeah.
game. It's crazy. It's crazy. But now I'm just like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to
Right.
leave.
Let's
You know
wrap
what I
it up.
mean? Yeah, exactly. So shout out to our parents that drive us all over the place and spend all this money staying in hotels and food and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's funny that you say that because I was talking to my parents about it because they're empty nesters now. Macy
yeah,
is in college, so we're all in college. And I was like, oh, well, at least don't have to do the AAU. And my dad's like, I would go back to AAU in a heartbeat.
in a
I
heartbeat.
He's like, I took it for granted just being able to watch you guys like all weekend
Yeah,
play basketball. And I think they're
right,
so sentimental about it now
man.
that we're not doing it anymore. So
Yeah,
it's crazy. It flies by. It goes by
yeah,
so fast.
it does. I'm gonna take that and hold on to it because I'm a parent of a baby, 6 months old, and a 3-year-old right now. So whatever advice or nuggets parents have, I'm taking it, holding on to it because
Right.
yeah, like it's a tough time right now for us because they say it's a terrible twos, but terrible threes is real too.
The newborn. That's
Yeah, and
yeah.
yeah. So, but all the parents that I talk to, they're like, yeah, I miss those days. Like I miss having a little kid running around, or I miss the baby
Mhm.
stage. So yeah, I'm taking that too, and I'm holding on to it. So yeah, that's what's up. Um, but yeah, shout out to your parents. Shout out to your mom too for really just, man, I can't say enough, good things about her. And all of the opportunities that she's helped you and a lot of girls in West Michigan get playing ball at the next level. So um, probably can't even count on our hands how many
Yeah.
have been playing. So yeah, I guess when did like NBA, when did that start? Was it before you uh started playing or before that?
It started with there was one group older than me, but
Hmm.
my age basically.
Okay.
So I think when I was going into 8th grade is when it started. And yeah, she's just done such a phenomenal job with NBA because really, if you can believe it or not, back in the day, like in Grand Rapids, it was not common for girls basketball players to play Division 1.
Right.
It was a rarity. And
Right.
so the fact that she's just created this powerhouse of NBA and they're on the
Hmm.
Under Armour circuit now, and it's giving so many girls opportunities because college coaches now know to look in Grand Rapids. They just
Yeah.
weren't looking before, really, unless it
Right.
was more local teams.
Yep.
And I just give her so much credit with that because she really put Grand Rapids on the map for women's basketball.
For sure. Yeah, she definitely did. And you make a good point because I graduated 2008. So man, I can really think of Alyssa DeHaan. She played at Michigan State.
Hmm.
Jamelia Hardley. She played at Michigan. Um, those are really the only two I can think of that played like high level D1 ball around here, at least for my era and stuff like that. There's some D2 players and stuff, of course. But yeah, you're right. And it feels like year after year, we're seeing more and more. So something I love, especially starting the chosen ones and wanting to get more hype around basketball in West Michigan. So
Hmm.
so that's dope. So yeah, the reason I asked you on this podcast was obviously to again complete the trifecta, but you know knowing that you're a podcaster and listening to some of your episodes, and um, I know that you would be a great person to have on an episode where I really want to start like going deeper with athletes and stop having these surface level type interviews, which nothing wrong with them. I think the work that we've been doing has been great, but um, so we have the Chosen Academy, which helps student athletes in their mental health walks and stuff like that. So I want to be able to bring a little bit of what we do, to these episodes, and have rich conversations to help, athletes be able to, I don't know, relate and navigate through these things. So I'm glad I sent you these questions like this morning, so my bad.
All good.
But yeah, yeah. So yeah, I just want to talk to you about the idea of like, man, basketball is your passion. Basketball was my passion. But there's times where you're just like, man, I just don't feel like doing this. Like you talked about, you know, practice this morning. You're like, oh, I'm glad practice is done to have the rest of the day.
Right.
So yeah, just want to talk about like when you're tired of doing just the thing that you love, when you're the very thing that you love and you're tired of doing it. So, um, like, I guess my first question for you with this topic is, do you ever feel like basketball is a job for you? And when did you start to feel that way, if you can remember?
Yeah. So I'm someone who I I love basketball.
Yeah.
I love practicing. I'm someone who's in the gym every day getting extra shots up.
Nice.
I, like all athletes I'm sure that you have on here, basketball's it's my first love.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as you also know, being a college hooper, former college hooper yourself,
Mhm.
It's a long season, it's a long 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
and it does get overwhelming at parts. I mean, the time that I can think of that basketball felt like it was my job was when I knew that I had to transfer because
Mm.
my we talked about this earlier, but I transferred from St. Bonaventure after being there for 2 years,
Yeah.
and my coach was just a bad person.
Mm.
He made it really tough. He would try to mentally break us down, and I consider myself to be a very mentally strong person, but
Yeah. Yeah.
at some point it got to me, and throughout my sophomore year, I was just going through really hard times with my mental health, and I didn't want to get extra shots up. I was the first one leaving practice. I was the last one there, first one leaving practice. I
Wow.
was like, what is going on right now? Why do I hate basketball? I had completely lost my love for the game.
Yeah.
And I couldn't watch it on TV. And that's one of the reasons that I started my podcast was because I wanted to have something outside of being on the court. I've never really done anything besides just being an athlete. And so I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I
Yeah.
need to do something outside of basketball that I can find fulfillment in and that I can be good at and that I can pour my energy into. I
Yeah.
also took up painting and just, I mean, it was terrible paintings, but like doing other things outside of that
Yeah.
um, to kind of just have my sanity.
Right.
And then at the end of the season, I was like, all right, this isn't this isn't right for me. I
Mhm.
don't want to be someone who just kind of like stays in this place where I hate basketball and I just kind of hang it up and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, whatever, become complacent in it. I love basketball too much to have stayed in a place where I just felt like I was losing love for the game every single day. And so it was a really tough decision, but I chose to stay for my basketball career and to transfer to find that love for the game again.
Wow. That's deep and a lot to unpack there. I don't even know where to begin. But first of all, kudos to you for really taking action and realizing that. So I told you off camera that I didn't play my senior year, and you had the wisdom to be able to step back and say like, why do I hate basketball right now, and kind of analyze things. Like for me, I just said the heck with it and just kind of gave it up. But I wish I would have taken it a step further to really analyze things or do what you did, try to find other things that you liked outside of basketball to kind of find yourself and things like that. Like, I guess, were you did you seek advice, seek counsel or anything like that to help you with that stuff, or were you just kind of going through it yourself?
I was going through it myself, honestly.
Mm,
I'm a pretty passionate, emotional, like I'm an optimistic person.
yeah.
But something that I just noticed with myself that year, my sophomore year, is I felt no emotion. I felt
Mm,
nothing. Like there would
yeah.
just be games where I would come home and I played well. Like I was doing well because I was so checked out that I wasn't even really caring about games. So
Yeah.
I was doing good, but
Yeah.
I would just stare at the ceiling until I fell asleep. I just didn't really I had no emotion towards
Man.
things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is not me. And when I decided to transfer at the end of the year, I didn't really tell my parent like I told my parents things, but
Yeah.
they didn't really know the extent of it. I didn't want to like I don't tell them every little inconvenience that happens, but
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
it builds up.
Right.
And they were like, "All right, well, are you sure you want to transfer? Like, I don't want this to be an emotional decision for you." And
Hmm.
I thought about it and I'm like, "Yeah, it is an emotional decision because these are like my emotions on the line. Like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to feel like I don't care about anything. I don't care about basketball. I don't care about what I'm doing in
Yeah.
my life,
Yeah.
And so it was an emotional decision for me to choose myself and choose to have that passion again
For
and
sure.
that passion for life too.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I ask this question, I'm not in this camp, but I know there's people out there that, you know, maybe are more old school that would say, "Oh, just suck it up," or "You're going through a hard time, just push through it and finish what you started at the school that recruited you." Like, what would you say to those people?
It's a great question. I'm someone who will always put myself first.
Mm,
I really trust myself. I think that stems back to just how my parents raised me and my sisters. They treated us with so much respect. They empowered us to use our voice.
mhm.
They treated us like adults that could make our own decisions. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have so much confidence in myself that whatever anyone said, even with my parents when they were like, "Okay, are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I'm sure because I know what's best for myself and I know what the best version of my life should look like." And, you
mhm.
know, I think that there are certain situations where you want to stick it out. And that's what I did after my freshman year.
Yeah,
I knew it was bad. I knew what I was getting into my sophomore year, but I was like, all right, I
yeah,
want to stick this out and see if I can push through it.
mhm.
And I mean, I did. I could have stayed there, but
Yeah,
there that's a tough part with transferring is I didn't want to transfer.
yeah,
I wanted to go to that school and stay there. I loved St. Bonaventure. I had the
mhm.
best friends. I had great relationships with my professors. I
Yeah.
loved the school. I felt so happy and at home there.
Man,
But that part of basketball wasn't fulfilling me in my life. And
yeah,
I just, I knew it was the right choice for me, even though I didn't really want to do it. And it felt very
right.
uncomfortable.
Man, yeah, that's hard. That's hard, and that's the reason why I stayed at Grand Valley and decided to, um, at least the 3 years that I did play, but I couldn't imagine, leaving my teammates and the relationships that I built, but, um, the love of the game sounds like the love of the game really, you know, made that decision for you and stuff like that, so, um,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's a hard thing, like, I understand why people do stay.
yeah,
Like, I have some friends that stayed at St. Bonaventure and pushed through it
mhm,
because they, you know, for whatever reason, and I fully understand that because there were times after I transferred where I was like, "Oh, should I have just stayed?" Like,
yeah,
you miss those relationships that you built and all the relationships on campus, and
right.
it's really hard.
Yeah. And I'm sure you probably were comparing like, oh, my relationships here aren't what they were, or you start to question yourself. But yeah, they
Yeah.
say it's buyer's remorse. But did you have it sounds like you had transfer remorse, if that's the thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was tough because when you transfer, you start over. I
Yeah.
built a really good reputation at St. Bonaventure. My coaches knew that I worked hard and I
Hmm.
worked hard in classes and and so transferring to Valpo, and these are conversations that me and Jillian have had because she just transferred to Virginia.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are multiple things. Like for one, you have no reputation. You have to build up your reputation again. Your coaches
Right.
don't know that you're a gym rat, so you have to like reprove those things. When you make
Yeah.
mistakes, there's not that trust yet, so you have to build all the trust with your coaches.
For sure.
Um, on campus, you don't feel that connection because you're not coming in with a group of freshmen. I was the only transfer on the team, so I
Right.
was just kind of like alone.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard transition to basically feel like you're just coming into this situation
Hmm.
by yourself and you have to figure it out and no one's really treating you with kid gloves because you've been in college for 2 years before. You're not a
Right.
freshman anymore, so you have to
Exactly.
figure it out.
Yep.
You have a short
Yep.
leash and it's
Yeah.
it's tough.
Man. Yeah. Sounds like there's a lot of things to really consider for transferring. So I hope that people that are watching and listening that are in that boat, that they're hearing what you're talking about, before they decide to make that decision. Um, but it sounds like things are working out well. Um, Man, such a good conversation so far. I want to get back on really the topic at hand as far as just uh just being drained and stuff like that. Pressure, I guess. You talk about you're a gym rat, you work hard. Um, Man, do you ever feel like you put a lot of pressure on yourself, or do you feel outside pressure? Talk about that a little bit.
Mm, I would say I was never the best player on my team. I was always like third best in middle school. I mean,
Yeah,
on my middle school team, like I was, but like on my AU team, like third best. I was never just like the star. I'm not super athletic. I'm
yeah,
short. I'm not super fat. Like you know what I mean? I
yeah,
work hard and that makes up for it, but like I was never just like the phenom athlete that like I had all these high expectations.
yeah.
Like I didn't get my first D1 offer until going into my senior year.
Okay.
So, not that the expectations were low for me. I've always had high expectations of myself and I've always worked hard, but I've always had to like really struggle for things. It's always been
Hmm.
kind of a grind to find success in my life. And
Yeah,
so I've never had that pressure of like, oh, I don't know how to say this, but like I've never had the pressure of like, oh, you have to like let down expectations because there haven't really been expectations. I feel like I've
yeah,
always
yeah.
like,
Hmm.
worked hard and proven myself over time.
Right.
And like that's how it's been for me throughout my college career as I've started out, as a freshman playing my role and
Hmm.
being a really good shooter and getting on the court through that.
Yeah.
And continuing to build my role over time. And now as a fifth year senior,
Hmm.
I've been playing the best I've been playing. And so I think that, always working hard and being able to fall back on that and just like exceeding expectations has allowed me to not really put much pressure on myself because it's like,
Okay.
well, you know, I'm the one who probably shouldn't be playing Division One. Like I
Yeah.
barely squeaked by with those D1 offers. So it's been kind of like low pressure for me ever since.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a nice lane to be in, I would say. You mentioned you didn't get your first D1 offer until late. I remember going to one of your games in high school, and I was filming, and there were a couple coaches there. Um, they weren't D1 coaches. Um, I think Olivet and a couple other teams. I can't remember, but they're like, "Who are you here to film?" I said, "Oh, the Brown sisters." And they said, they said they mentioned you. They're like, don't. They're just joking, but like, don't put film out on Olivia. Like, if you do, we don't want her to get as much like pub because we're trying to recruit her, and if she gets more pub, she's not. She's definitely going D1. We think she's a D1 player, but basically they knew that you're a D1 player, but they were hoping that they would get you. So that kind of makes sense. That reminded me of that when you mentioned that. So
Yeah.
um
It was
yeah,
that I think that's like that was one of the downsides of like being that first class of my mom's MBA program. I'm happy for all the kids now who like had that
yeah,
college exposure, but when she was first starting, it was hard. We were on like the lowest courts in AU and
yeah,
it was definitely harder, but it all works out at the
yeah,
end. She always told me
yeah,
to
for
trust the
sure.
process. My parents both told me that, trust the process. And
Yep.
I was at the time I'm like, stop saying that. Like there's no process to trust. But it worked out. So all good now.
Absolutely. It was really mature, your sister Macy, when I talked to her right before she got the Miss Basketball award, but she kind of mentioned that like obviously she won, but she had everybody that came up before her to thank, right? All the standouts on NBA and even really all the other girls that were so great in West Michigan, but Um, so like a piece of that award was yours and Jillian's. You know what I mean? So um, yeah, I thought that was kind of sweet that she said that. But
She's the best.
yeah. Um. So when it comes to being a student athlete, what would you say is probably the most draining thing for you?
I think what gets hard is when things aren't going well. I think it's easy to be a student athlete when you're getting the playing time you want, you're playing well, things are going good.
Yeah.
I think the most draining part is when you're not finding success. And so
Man, it's so hard.
then it's not fun. When
Yeah.
you're not doing well, it's not fun,
Yeah.
honestly. So there have just been like a few different things I do to help get myself back on track. I mean,
Mhm.
one thing, and we talked about this earlier, but just having hobbies outside of your sport
Yeah.
is so helpful because me and Jillian were talking about this, but athletes, I feel like sometimes don't have a very complex self identity. This is something that Jillian brought up. I didn't know this until she talked about it, but there's something called complex self identity. And
Hmm.
so you have your identity as a basketball player, but then you have other identities like you're a great student or you love to read or you love art, all these
Yeah.
different things. And so I think it's really important for athletes to develop a complex self identity so they don't see themselves as just an athlete, just a basketball player, just someone who's successful at their sport.
Yeah.
They see themselves as a lot more than that, and they have other interests to fall back onto. Like, I really like to read, so
Yeah.
during the season, you can find me, like, in my downtime, I'm reading a book because that just
Yeah.
helps me good game or bad game, I'm, like, escaping into a different world after it,
Yeah.
I wanna, like, separate myself from who I am as an athlete, and that's also
Right.
why I started my podcast too.
Okay.
So, I think when you're not doing well and when it gets really hard, you have to have those things that you love to do outside of your sport.
Man, that's so real. Speaking of reading, I don't know if you've ever seen those memes of LeBron when he's reading before his games.
Yeah,
Like why is he always on the first page? Like, man, why they
yeah.
gotta do our boy like that? But no,
Haters,
that's haters,
fans.
right?
Yeah,
Trying to find something wrong, you know. But no, it's interesting that you say that. I love that you said that, and it's very important because in my experience, I didn't do that really. Everything was really just basketball. Even outside of basketball, I hung out with my teammates and talked about practice, talked about the game
right.
and stuff like that. So it wasn't ever really a break. My boy Josh, who's on the pod a lot with me, he was a walk on. So he his freshman year, he didn't live with basketball players. So he had friends outside of basketball. So whenever we left practice or whatever, he would be out, doing things with other people. So he kind of got that break. But yeah, and then when I stopped playing, I had really just a a journey of like figuring out who I was. Because I didn't really like seek to find anything else. So I think that's really important that you mentioned that. Um, so you mentioned you like painting and stuff like that. Do you still do that?
No, I haven't actually recently. That was like when I was in a really I was really in a kind of a dark place. I was painting a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but it was great. I would just play music and, kind of zone
Hmm.
out in that way. But like something that I've been doing more, and that's why I'm so glad I've been able to have my fifth year,
Yeah.
is I've really been able to like settle into Valparaiso. And the biggest thing I've been doing recently is just like making career opportunities for myself. So I've been
Hmm.
working at the marketing department at our school, and I've been
Yeah.
doing color commentating on the radio, and I've been doing my podcast. So
Check you out.
I would suggest for athletes, and I didn't do this until my fifth year because I was just focused on basketball so much, and
Yeah.
there's it's so great for athletes to do that. I'm a full believer in investing all your time into your sports because you only get 4 or 5 years to do it. Like make the most of that time,
Yes.
but also think about what you want to do afterwards too. Pour into your
Hmm.
career. You
Right.
don't want to be a fifth year senior or a senior and have nothing on your resume.
Exactly.
It's a bad position to be in. And so
Yeah.
look for opportunities to do internships at your athletic department or, within your school, and have that be an outlet outside of your sport too,
Yeah.
because you want to just invest in yourself outside of your sports career too.
Right. Right. Olivia, you're cooking right now. You're cooking right now. I love it. I used to be a career coach, and I used to recruit for interns too. So I love that realm, and helping young people kind of start their careers and stuff like that, and mentoring them through that. So it's so important because it's hard when you don't you when you have that degree. That's most times that's not enough. You gotta have that experience on your resume. And I work in HR, so I see job descriptions all the time where it'll say entry level, but then underneath it'll say 1 to 3 years experience. Just like that doesn't make sense, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's the world that we live in though. So definitely, definitely focus on your career when you can. But
yeah.
yeah, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's definitely hard to do, especially just with all the demands on the student athlete with classes.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not saying it's easy because I've just started doing this my 5th year when I'm
Yeah.
in all
Yeah.
all online classes for grad school, but
Hmm.
I wish I would have gotten into it earlier and really that's just my advice for younger athletes is start to think about those things.
Yeah.
Start to do internships. A lot of times the athletic department, they know your schedule. They'll work with you.
Right.
And just to get that like foot in the door of career experience is so important for athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. Even even professional athletes are doing that today. You see a lot of professional athletes in the podcasting space. You see them on TV. You see them starting their own businesses. Jimmy Butler has his own coffee company. So
Yeah.
um, it's the time. It's the time to really do that and buckle down and focus on it. So yeah, shout out to you for really just recognizing that and getting that in. So that's dope. Um, man. So the topic of taking care of yourself, you've been doing great at that. You mentioned though, at St. Bonnie's, you kind of went through things kind of on your own for a while, at least. Um, I guess who was the first person that you told that, like, all right, I'm struggling. I need to I need to do something. Like I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I my roommate
Mm,
is my roommate is one of my best friends still,
yeah,
and we just would talk about it all the time because she just knows me better than anyone.
yeah.
And she was just someone that I always confided in. My other friend, Carrie, who was on the team with me, she knew the perspective of what we were going through, like how our coach treated us,
Hmm.
and she saw the things that not just me, but we all went through.
Yeah.
And so having those really deep friendships in my life, I had two other really close friends at St. Bonaventure who, you know, we knew what was going on and we knew that we were all in kind of a bad place, but we kind of all together made the decision that like, listen, it it sucks when we're playing basketball right now,
Yeah.
but when we're off the court, we're just friends. We don't talk about basketball. We talk about all the good things in our life. We do fun things, you know. We
Hmm.
really made the decision to not let basketball become just this black hole in our lives, and we honestly strengthen our friendship through not focusing on basketball and just trying to look at the positives in our life and
Right.
not building our relationship just around talking about basketball, but
Hmm.
just around our friendship and our common shared interest and stuff like that.
Man, that's good. That's really good. Um, yeah. What kind of? I guess what kind of things did you guys expand on as far as stuff you talked about, did together?
We would go to get coffee like every day. My friend Carrie, she would cook for me all the time. We would,
Hmm.
do that. We went on a lot of walks together just as a friend group.
Okay.
Me and my roommate would, in the fall time, like we went to an apple orchard, just stuff like that. And then just talking about, oh gosh, it feels like it's so long ago, but just like
Yeah.
finding ways to make each other laugh, like
Right.
brightening our days. I just have the best friends from St. Bonaventure. We actually, this summer, we all went down to Florida together.
Oh,
And
nice.
it had been 2 years since I have seen two of my friends,
Yeah.
a year for the others. But like, we laughed so much. We just, I feel like that's the thing with great friendships is that you just sometimes talk about nothing, but you
Hmm.
have the best time together. And I was
Exactly.
just so fortunate to find such genuine relationships there.
Yeah.
that it's what made it such a hard decision to transfer. Because if it was just basketball, yeah, that's easy. I'm gone.
Right.
But those relationships I had were so meaningful,
Man,
and they made it worth it to be there for those 2 years.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely relate. We didn't do a good job at like doing other things because we would get home from practice. We'd either turn the game on or play NBA 2K. Like that was literally all we did. So
Right.
it was basketball, pretty much everything. But um I'm in a group chat with these guys still, you know, 10 plus years after, playing with them and stuff. And
Yeah.
um yeah, those relationships like, that you build on the court last a long time
They're
and
lifelong friendships. Yeah.
lifelong friendships for sure. So I hope you realize the stuff you've been saying has been so powerful, and I really hope that anybody, at least one person that's watching or listening today, will benefit from this and learn from your situation, and take it into account if someone is thinking about transferring or something like that, and just thinking about what you went through in their decision. So I appreciate you so much for really just telling your story. This has really been great, and you're like making the decisions and stuff that I wish I like were wise enough or was wise enough or aware enough to be able to, make those decisions. So definitely proud to hear um, the maturity of your decision making, and you're flourishing now at Valpo. So congrats to you for real.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Before we end, just want to ask a couple fun questions. You confirmed that you're a Brown fan. Are there any other athletes from any other sport that you like to follow?
I love Naomi Osaka.
Mm,
Talking about mental health, she's just a great example of putting herself first
no doubt.
when she decided to not, do the media coverage after some of their tournaments.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
dope. I really like her. I love Angel Reese. I love what she's doing for women's basketball right now.
Hmm.
I heard that she just got a NIL deal with Reebok.
I saw that.
She's killing it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
she's been amazing for women's basketball. It's been really cool to see.
yeah.
And then Jillian and Macy Brown. Those are the
Oh
main
yeah,
athletes I follow.
yeah. No doubt,
The best
no
ones in my
doubt.
opinion.
Yeah, that's what's up. Are there any chances that you play the three women that you named? Um, your sisters or Angel?
That I would play against them.
Yeah, this year.
I don't know. Our schedule just came out. We don't play
No.
any of them. Is that what you
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess how are you guys feeling about the year? Do you feel like you can make some noise late in the year?
Yeah, I'm actually super excited for this year. As a fifth year, I feel like I'm in my flow. Like I've been getting better at defense, getting
Mhm.
better at finding, openings in our offense. And then we have some really amazing freshmen on
Cool.
our team who have just been, I think, really just like raising our level of play.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of experience. So I think that we're gonna be a fun team to watch. We're gonna play fast. We're gonna make shots.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this year for our
That's
team.
what's up. That's what's up. Cool. Cool. Well, yeah. I'll be. I mean, I make sure to look at the box score and stuff like that when you play. So, um, and Andy Secor, he always posts about you and stuff, and shows some of your film. So I check that out too. So,
Sweet, yeah.
man, there's been some in my throat for like the last 10 minutes, driving me crazy. But another fun question. We'll just go to a show or a movie that you just love to watch over and over, if you could.
I've been rewatching Modern Family recently, so that would be I haven't seen it in probably 10 years, but I've been
Wow.
rewatching from the start and
Okay.
it's so cute. It's funny. I like it.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm I'm in like season 10. I'm going through it for the first time. But
really.
it's taken a
Yeah.
long time for me. But I've always
They have
seen
a
it
ton
like
of seasons
so
and
many. I think
episodes.
it's like 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, who's your favorite character on it?
I love Gloria. I love Cam and I love Phil.
Yeah.
I just like the amount I laugh watching that show, it is so funny. Like Phil is hilarious. I love
Yeah.
Gloria. Cam is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yo,
It's they did a great job with that show. They really
yeah.
did.
Phil's my guy. He
Yeah, that's your favorite character. I'm sure
yeah,
as a dad, like you can probably
yeah,
relate to some things, being the cool
absolutely.
dad, you know?
Right, right. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna be as naive as him, at least I hope, but
right.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But cool, I appreciate you. Appreciate you being on the show. It was great getting to know you a little bit. As you know, I've been a fan from afar, you and your sisters too. So good luck this season. I'll be checking you guys out and watching your progress. So appreciate you.
Thank you, Wes. And I appreciate everything you're doing for student athletes and having these conversations to help people. It's so important, and there aren't
Yeah.
enough people doing it. And I love that you've carved out this section of Grand Rapids
Mm,
and you're highlighting all these athletes' stories, but you're helping so many people. And I'm just
thank
so
you.
grateful for all the things that you're doing.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for being on and being willing to share your story and be vulnerable a little bit. So means a lot for sure. And it means a lot what you said too. So thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Appreciate you for joining us for another episode of the Chosen Podcast. Make sure you leave a comment, like, subscribe to our page. If you're listening, make sure you leave a review and all that stuff. And yeah, appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, peace.